U.S. developing new weapon to combat China, but wary of unproven tech. The U.S. and China have had a Cold War going on for a long time now. Everybody knows about it, but what's going on right now? What are the updates on the war? And why do they have to be so cautious around each other? Why is their every move so calculating? Well, don't you worry. We've got the updates regarding all of it. Welcome back, everyone, to Next Tech Ventures, where today we're going to give you updates about how the U.S. is trying to combat China. But before we do that, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon. Now, without wasting any more time, let's get right into the video. After an impressive live-fire demonstration in the Gulf of Mexico, the United States' brand-new QUICKSINK bomb, which is a fast-moving, joint-capability technology demonstration, is now ready to target China's massive fleet of aggressive civilian and lightly armed military ships. The QUICKSINK bomb successfully fills a niche that had been vacant for a considerable amount of time. Dealing with China's vast fleet of lightly armed government vessels and dual-use civilian ships has been a challenge for the United States Navy and the United States Coast Guard over the past few years. Both of these branches of the United States Armed Forces have been affected. In order to accomplish China's maritime goals or to actively support military operations, these Chinese boats are routinely deployed as part of fleets numbering in the hundreds. They are notorious for being difficult to control, halt, or sink, and this reputation precedes them. The only method for American soldiers stationed in the Pacific to deal with China's enormous civilian fleet was to stand by and observe while China disregarded one after another of the laws governing international and maritime conduct. The Marine forces in the Pacific had no way to stop even a single determined and potentially hostile civilian surface ship other than a heavyweight torpedo or a feeble laser-guided bomb due to the fact that they had only modest deck guns and maybe a few anti-ship missiles at their disposal. QUICKSINK changes things for China's fleets, which are spread out and don't behave well. As of now, QUICKSINK has a simple kinetic capability. A low-cost guidance kit from the Air Force Research Laboratory is attached to a 2,000-pound Joint Direct Attack Munition, or JDAM. With so many JDAMs in the world's arsenal, and the fact that almost any military plane can drop JDAMs, QUICKSINK is a death sentence for China's gray zone fleet. There are many different kinds of JDAMs, but when the QUICKSINK is attached to a 2,000-pound JDAM, it acts like a heavyweight torpedo. In a live test in the Gulf of Mexico on April 28th, a surrogate target the size of a trawler was torn apart and sunk to the bottom in 40 seconds. In a real attack on a ship with fuel and people on board, the crew wouldn't know what hit them and wouldn't have any warning. Now that the U.S. has a low-cost weapon and can quickly stop big ships anywhere and in any weather, China's big flagships can no longer sail through the world's remote, almost lawless seas alone and without fear. Once found, China's main tools for making trouble at sea can be sunk at any time. With a bunch of new, long-legged, homeland defense-focused F-15EX fighters on the way, the United States will have a fast, reliable QUICKSINK delivery system that can reach across the vast Pacific. Now that QUICKSINK's ready to be used, China's aggressive expansionists have reason to worry. China's illegal fishing fleets, smuggling cadres, sea-grabbing militias all have deep-sea logistics that are well-known and easy to find. And one day, those big support ships might just vanish into the vast, lonely sea, leaving their charges, which are often smaller, cheaper, and less seaworthy, to fend for themselves. Not a tool for fighting at the top, QUICKSINK is a simple, low-tech tool that goes against the U.S. military's desire for new technology. It's not for use on the front lines. The new guided bomb doesn't pose much of a threat to smart, high-end warships. If they are ready, rival Navy ships can try to shoot down the plane carrying the QUICKSINK bomb. If they can't, their close-in, self-defense systems can try to stop the bomb from going off. Instead of meeting the needs of high-tech warfare against a fleet that's close to its own, QUICKSINK is, at its core, a threat to China's massive investment in low-tech ships that are focused on coercion. Even in the best of times, China's gray zone fleet's hard to control when it's all together. China has a long and successful history of using a large number of small boats to stop bigger ships. As early as 1966, 11 steel-hulled Chinese trawlers worked together to chase out of the East China Sea the sister ship of the USS Pueblo, the USS Banner, which was also used for surveillance. This was also done to show that the communist regime was in charge. China's used swarming as a military strategy for a long time. Coast Guards and navies all over the Pacific have been trying for a long time to figure out how to deal with China's preference for lots of low-tech ships. China's militarized gray zone fleet has only been able to be stopped by air power and a large number of highly capable gunboats on the water. In the last few years, small victories against China's aggressive fleets have led to a sort of low-tech arms race, as Pacific states slowly improve their defenses by adding more ships and making each ship bigger. China quietly supersized their low-tech armada, making their ships too big and fast for other countries to fight. Even though it hasn't been a big deal, China's low-tech fleet has grown a lot. The number and size of China's Coast Guard cutter fleet are growing, and now has over 130 ships that are each over 1,000 tons. Today, the biggest Chinese ships can beat anything that isn't an Arleigh Burke destroyer, even though China's Coast Guard fleet is still not very well armed and now has better basic weapons. Rapid-fire guns and man-portable anti-aircraft missiles make it harder for rotary-wing aircraft to get close, and this makes it harder for the U.S. to target ships with laser-guided munitions, which it has used in the past to clear the seas of lightly armed enemies. But now, America's QUICKSINK makes even the queens of the Chinese Coast Guard, the massive 12,000-ton Zhoutel-class Coast Guard cutters, vulnerable. All of the large, fast-moving ships that China uses to support its sovereignty-eroding distant fishing fleets, the support tenders, transshipment craft, and surveillance platforms are in danger of dying. But now the cost equation is shifting out of China's favor. Instead of just building more, albeit bigger and better armed ships, China must either procure Coast Guard ships armed with sophisticated anti-aircraft systems capable of detecting and downing an aircraft 15 to 20 miles away, or embark gray zone craft under the protection of naval combatants and friendly air cover. Welcome to a new time in the Pacific. China's reaction to QUICKSINK depends upon just how China may have planned to employ their vast gray zone fleet of fishing vessels, dredgers, and other attended craft. China has spent a lot of time and money modernizing its gray zone fleet, and it might not react well to this new weapon, which directly goes against tactics that China's used for a long time and that have worked well to this point. The existential threat QUICKSINK poses to China's coercive fleets suggests that China's ongoing scramble for Pacific Ocean bases and advanced airfields will accelerate. In retrospect, China's unseemly rush to exploit an initial 2019 diplomatic opening in the Solomon Islands may well have been influenced by QUICKSINK's rapid progression from concept to a functional weapon. China's opposition to collaborative multinational surveillance webs in the Pacific may get even shrill, and China's ongoing efforts to target surveillance platforms and cooperative intelligence dissemination networks may get even more overt. QUICKSINK is no cure-all. Even with Chinese military aircraft and Navy vessels operating out of a location like the Solomon Islands, China's rogue fishing fleets that are eroding other countries' sovereignty are still able to congregate and operate with a certain degree of safety in the deep Pacific. But now that QUICKSINK is operational across China, the country's costs and dangers are beginning to shift in a way that cannot be reversed. That's all for today's video. Hey, we'll see you in the next one. Please share your response to this video in the comments section and make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Hey, thanks for watching.